This conference will now be recorded.
Okay, so as we are making our way towards Rosh Hashana, let me find the one that I want, not that one, that one. Okay, so a deeper understanding. We know, and we mentioned last time, Rosh Hashanah is Yom Hadin, a day of judgment. Yet, as we mentioned last week, if it was simply a day of judgment, then it would not be Rosh Hashanah. It would not be focused on the start, the head of the year. It will be more on the end of the previous year. The fact that it is Rosh Hashanah means it is looking forward towards that year. So let's try to get a deeper understanding in this idea of the judgment, keeping in mind, right? We say that the evil people are signed to the book of death and the righteous in the book of life. Yet we know there are many righteous people who die every year. And there are many, many very wicked people, as we are discussing right now, very, very wicked people, and somehow they're alive year to year to year. So we need to get a better, more nuanced understanding of that which we are talking about here. So let's start with the sources. Part one, number one, Talmud Bavli, the Babylonian Talmud, Rosh Hashanah 16a. The Mishnah says, Ba'arba'a prakim, ha'olam nidon. There are 4 times a year where the world is judged. The Pesach, on Pesach al ha'tavua, we are judged in terms of what will the harvest be, how successful, how plentiful will the harvest be. Ba'atzeret, on Shavuot, we are judged al perot ha'ilan, that there's a judgment on how fruitful and how productive will the fruits of the tree, will the trees be. Rosh Hashanah, on our Rosh Hashanah, as in about 10 days hence, Kol ba'ei olam, ovrim lefanav kivnei maron. All those who enter the world pass before God kivnei maron, like bnei maron. And we probably will discuss that more in depth. The simple meaning is like sheep of a flock. Shenemar, as it says, Hayotzer Yachad Libam, the one who created and sees their hearts all together. Hamevin El Kol Ma'asehem. He understands all that we do, understands every aspect of ourselves. Uvechag Ninodin Alamayim. And on Chag, Chag, the generic term Chag, is a reference to Sukkot. Nidonin al hamayim, then we are judged in terms of the water, the rainfall, how plentiful will it be, how timely will it be, what locations will it be. But our focus is, of course, on Rosh Hashanah. All pass before Hashem. Everyone is scrutinized individually by God. Source number 2, the Gemara there, right? That was the Mishnah on Rosh Hashanah 16a. And the Gemara there says, Amarav Kruspidai, Amarav Yochanan, Shlosha Sfarim Niftachin V'Rosh Hashanah. There are 3 books that are opened up on Rosh Hashanah. Now, of course, there are no great books in the sky, right? So if we are giving a anthropomorphic example. So what is meant when we say 3 books? When something is written in a book, right? What does that indicate? Why would we use the term 3 books? God doesn't have books in the heavens. There are no books he's using. But when we think of written in a book, what do we think of?
Documentation or chronicling?
Documentation, a recording of it, of a certain permanence to it, but it's not engraved. Yes. So there's a certain permanence involved, but they're not engraved, right? When something is engraved, then it is immutable. That is what it is. And here, to me, right, this example of this illustration of writing it in a book means that there is seriousness, there is permanence. At the same time, there is not this immutability, and therefore, right, things can still change. As the Gemara often says, though, after the Gzar Din, after a decree, it's that much more difficult to change it. That's why we want to get to work now, before Rosh Hashanah, or minimally between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, right? Before there is that sealing, that chatima. Yes, Steve. That's true also. That's true also. Huh?
I've never heard of that.
Never. Nah. So again, Rav Kustai said in the name of Rabbi Yochanan, 3 books are open on Rosh Hashanah. One of totally evil people, Echad, shel Rishaim Gemurin, completely evil. The Echad shel Tzadikim Gemurin, completely righteous. The Echad shel Beinoniim, and those that are in the middle. So if we're taking this simpler reading, we'll soon see what the commentators say. A Russia Gamor, a complete Russia. How many of those do we know? I don't know. I could think of a few in some tunnels in Gaza. But besides that, Russia Gamor, completely evil, right? Totally evil. And it's Sadiq Gamor, completely righteous. I don't know. I don't know. I know many, 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 many very, very righteous people. Would I say any one of them is completely righteous? I don't know. Right? So according to that, the Beinoniim, meaning the middle group who are neither Rishaim Gemur and completely evil or completely righteous, would seem to be a very, very wide category. But we'll see how the commentators explain it. Tzadikim Gemurin, the Tzadikim Gemurin, completely righteous, Nichtavim and Echtamim la'alter. They are immediately written and sealed, l'chayim, for life. Rishonim Gemurin, completely evil, Nichtavim v'Nechtamim la'alter, are written and sealed immediately, l'misa, for death. Beinoniim, and those who are in the middle, Tuluyin v'Omdin, they are suspended and in a state of suspension, we'll say, May Rosh Hashana va'ad Yom Kippurim. From Rosh Hashana until Yom Kippurim. Zachu, if they merit, Nechtavim l'chayim. They are written for life. Lo Zachu, they don't merit, Nechtavim, inscribed for death. Okay? And in a moment we'll need to examine what is meant by these Beinoniim. How do we understand these categories? There is a bit of a frightening, I don't often share this in Beth Jacob. There is a bit of a frightening illustration in the words Tuluyin va'omdin. Tuluyin means what, literally? Hanged. And what's omdin? Standing. So what picture comes to mind? A person who is standing with a noose around his neck. Right? So he's on the chair, he's standing, but he's hanging. And we hope that they will take off the noose as opposed to kicking out the chair, which was the method that was done. Okay. Like I said, I try to stay away from those examples when I'm speaking at Beth Jacob. Okay. Yes. Good. Rashi explains. Number 3. What are these Beinoniim? Rashi says, Mechza al Mechza. Those who are literally half and half. So, in other words, according to Rashi, a tzaddik gamor, completely righteous, means more righteous than otherwise.
That's really giving away.
And completely evil means more evil than good. And who then are the Beinoniim? that very, very thin, right? As opposed to 1% and 100%, right? Or 0 and 100%, and everyone else 1 to 99 are Beinonim, right? 51 to 100 righteous, 49 down to 0 evil. Beinonim 50.0. Rambam on that says in his Hilchot Teshuva, source number 4, Shikul Zeh, this calculation, this reckoning, Eina lefi minyan hazechuyot v'avonot, is not based on, it's not a numerical accounting. How many merits? How many sins? Ela lefi godalam. Rather, according to, I like the English over here, their magnitude. Well, we'll soon see. God only knows. Yesh zuchut shehi keneged kama avonot. There are some merits that will be equal or will outweigh many sins. Shenemar yan nimtza bo davar tov. Even though things are not looking good, because there was a davar tov, a good thing found there. V'yesh avon, and there are certain sins shu keneged kama zchuyot, which can outweigh many merits. Shenemar v'chote echad, one sin, ye'aved tova harbe, will obscure, will cause the loss of much good. Ve'ein shoklin. So how do we measure this? Right? We're never meant to be measuring others, but how are we meant to measure even ourselves? Ein shoklin ela bedato shalkel deot. It can only be weighed by, according to the understanding of the God of knowledge, the knowing God. V'hu hayodea, and only He knows how. Heich orchen hazechuyot keneged avonot. How we align, how we weigh, how we determine. And therefore, really, everyone needs to view themselves as Beinoni and take that time between Rosh Hashana and Rosh Hashana through Yom Kippur and in a very serious way. Yes, Leah.
I have a question. I mean, we're just from year to year, okay? So there is the Shaganu, or the Tzadikanu, which is the end of the bell shape. Okay, but what if someone is always Benoni, it's okay, and then one year it's shooting, something really bad happened. He killed his neighbor because of something, but his history is pretty good. So he doesn't get any credit for that?
Yeah. So yes. Okay. So I would say two things. First of all, we're going to see how this din actually is meant to unfold, how this judgment to unfold, and that's where I think what the Rambam says is so important. The Kel Deot, the God, the knowing God, takes all of that into account. Right? The Gemara says, the Talmud says that that ultimately, when a person goes up after 120 years, as we say, right? Whatever the judgment is, the person who is judged is the first to pronounce and say the word emet, truth, right? So everything gets taken into account, right? The state of mind of the person, what else was going on, right? That's why, right, we say, it says in Pirkei Avot, don't judge a person until you've been in his position, right? Until you've walked in his shoes, right? And of course, no one knows what anyone else is going through. Not even those closest to us, not our children, not our spouses. No one knows what everyone is going through, all that's going on with that person. And therefore, right, it's not for us to judge another person. Look, as parents, sometimes I might need to judge this relationship, this friendship is unhealthy for my child. I'm not judging that person. I'm judging, is this relationship beneficial for my child or not? Meaning, a parent might decide, This is not a friend I want my kids to have. Okay. Now, is that person bad? God knows what that person is. God knows what the person's been through. It could be that this, what we would consider unsavory behavior, is an incredible achievement considering all that this person has been through. And in the heavens, they might say this person is viewed in the highest manner. At the same time, if I hear the person, if every other word starts with an F, I might decide, hey, right? That's not what I want my kids to be surrounded by. I'm not judging the person. I'm judging the interaction and the relationship. And is this a healthy relationship for my child or for myself? I might decide this is not a person who I really want to be involved with. I'm not judging the person. I'm judging the interactions with me are ones that bring me down and not bring me up. Right? Yes, Steve.
Like number 6 says, it's not our job to judge the terrorists. Only God can do that. It's just our job to arrange the meeting.
Okay. Yes. Yeah. And those who want to be martyrs, we're happy to expedite. Yes. Yes. Along those lines. Yes. Okay. Now, Tosafot, number 5, brings a very, very basic issue that we have with this that I mentioned before. And he writes, I'll go back to the English. From the understanding that some individuals have the same amount of good deeds and bad deeds, and their sentence is suspended from Rosh Hashana to Yom Kippur, it is implied that the definition of a righteous person is one whose merits are greater than his bad deeds. Right? Not like Rashi said that it's all. I'm sorry. Yeah, like Rashi. Yeah, not like we had thought originally that it needs to be fully righteous or fully evil, and the middle category is from 0.1 to 99.9, but rather a righteous person is one whose merits are greater. And a completely wicked person is defined as one whose transgressions outweigh the good deeds. Sometimes, however, the righteous are sealed for death, and the totally wicked for life. In other words, halavai, after Rosh Hashanah, we're going to hear that Sinwar is dead, and all of his cronies, they're all dead. However, judging from past years, I don't think we're expecting to wake up to such news. So therefore we see that righteous sometimes are sealed for death and totally wicked for life. Therefore, Tosfot says, Tosfot is of the commentators on the Babylonian Talmud. Okay? Therefore, and they're actually found on the page of the Talmud itself. You've got the Talmud, you've got Rashi on the inside columns, on the outside columns, you have the Tosafot. Tosafot literally means additions. Right? If you go to a restaurant in Israel, right, they'll ask you, what are the Tosafot? What are the side dishes that you would like? Okay. Therefore, Tosa said, Kol zed dekari hachi gabi rishoyim mita, the gabi tzadikim chayim, klomar l'chaye olam haba. The definitions of death for the wicked and life for the righteous refer to life in the world to come. That's what it's talking about. Is this person going to be alive in the world to come? Or is this person going to be dead in the world to come? Will this person have their eternity, their olam haba, or not? That's what Tosfos says is the judgment that takes place on Rosh Hashana. What's strange about that? We would imagine that judgment takes place when?
At the end of life.
At the end of life, 120 years. That's when we take into account everything that's taken place. And is this person going to as they say, enter the pearly gates or not? What does a person's olam haba, what does a person's world to come have to do with Rosh Hashanah? Isn't the olam haba a decision that takes into account every moment of a person's life from beginning to end? And that's what that decision is based upon. Number 6, the Sifsei Chaim, Rav Chaim Friedlander. Yesh lahavin, we need to understand. Shaharei din zeh, this judgment, l'chayei ha'olam haba, that will determine, that determines, or that judges if the person will be entering the world to come or not. Eino b'Rosh Hashanah. That's not every year on Rosh Hashanah. It's not relevant now, Rosh Hashanah, assuming we're going to be continuing to live after Rosh Hashanah. So that decision is not Rosh Hashanah. Ela rak la'acher petirat ha'adam. Rather, it's only when a person leaves this world. Biva'o lifnei beit din shel mala. When the person comes before the heavenly court above. So Tosfot had a problem. We see righteous people who are living year to year. You see evil people living year to year. And every year, many righteous people die. So what do we mean they're being judged for life or death? Because of that issue, Tosfot said that, we're not talking about a judgment here in this world. We're talking about a judgment of what will be the Olam Haba. But you've taken care of one problem, but created another one. So that resolves evil people who are living, continuing to live. Yeah, we're talking about Olam Haba. Righteous people who are dying. Yes, we're talking about Olam Haba. But why is that on Rosh Hashanah? That should be after 120 years, as we like to say. And therefore he explains as follows, which is number 7 on our source sheet. The establish of one's spiritual essence. Is this person an Olam Haba person, a world to come person or not? That is the judgment on Rosh Hashanah that relates to the world to come. We'll soon see what he means. Similar to the statement of the sages found in many places, who is Esahu ben Olam Haba? Who is a ben Olam Haba? Who is destined for the world to come? That does not mean who's going to be dying imminently and going to the world to come. The connotation is that it is not after one's death that a person merits the world to come. Rather, now, in one's lifetime, one is already considered as one destined for the world to come. So here, walking this earth, we have those who are B'nai Olam Haba, those who are destined for the world to come, and those who are not. So how does Rosh Hashanah work its way into this? In this way, a person's judgment is related to the world to come. Right? We turn the page. For on Rosh Hashanah, a person's spiritual essence is established according to one's level. Okay? So on Rosh Hashanah, there is an accounting that is done, a judgment that is done as of today, or as of 2 weeks from today, the first day of Rosh Hashanah, where is this person holding, standing in their purpose of creation, which is for us to connect to God, ultimately connect to God here, to ultimately connect to God. Where is the person on that continuum, on that journey? Where is the person at? Why? Why we need to determine that now? Let's hear. So again, in this way, a person's judgment is related to the world to come. For on Rosh Hashana, a person's spiritual essence is established according to one's level. That is to say, one inscribes one's own book. We are writing our book. And here we go. Umikviat mahuto haruchaniyut. And once from that establishment of the essence of that person's ruchaniyut, spiritual level, olam haba or not, noveya hadin al inyanei olam hazeh. That will determine the corresponding judgment for olam hazeh, for this world. Al hamikrim sheyaru lo b'shana haba'ah. The things that will happen in this year, health, income, etc., etc. Meaning, if a person is a ben olam haba, that means the person is using things well. The person is utilizing their time that's been given to them, utilizing the kochos, the abilities, the resources given to them. Oh, this person is utilizing their time well. There makes sense. Let us continue to supply the means that the person is using so well. Person is not using their time so well. In that case, maybe what's best for this person to reroute, right? We'll have our GPS route recalculation. Now the iPhone doesn't do that. The old ones used to do that. I kind of miss that. Here, when you make a wrong turn, you don't even realize you made a wrong turn. All of a sudden, there's a new map that shows up over there. I used to like that route recalculation. Right? It was good kick in the pants. Pay attention better next time. Right? So the person might need a route recalculation in order to direct that person that they will utilize their time on this earth in order to reach that point of Olam Haba, right? Oh, so does that mean, so if things are going well, they're righteous. Things are not going well, they're not righteous? There's another completely opposite way of looking at it also. And there are all these different means that Hashem could apply. Meaning, if a person is a ben Olam Haba, is on their way to Olam Haba, then it might be good for them to have some difficulties over here to clean the slate of any misdeeds along the way. And that way, when they reach the 120 years, it's all clear sailing. Conversely, a person who's not going for Olam Haba, well, they've done some good things. They deserve repayment for some good things they've done. So might have things wonderfully over here as payment. That's why we can never look at ourselves or someone else and say, oh, if things are going well or not well, it means that God is judging them as X or Y. We have no idea how Hashem judges any other person. But the understanding is that where we are in terms of being either a ben olam haba or not, that is a determination on Rosh Hashana. Yes, after 120 years, there's that determination for, okay, so where does a person, what is the afterlife going to look like? But on Rosh Hashana, where they are holding at this point, where their essence is, that will determine what is the best thing for them this year. And therefore, taking into account a person's Olam Haba, and therefore, as the Tosfot said, you have righteous people who are dying, you have horrific people who are living, because we're not talking about a judgment, will they live or die during the course of this year? We're talking about, are they a ben olam haba or not? A person destined for the world to come or not? And that will then, as we ask, so why now? That's after 120 years? No, because that determination will be used in determining that judgment we use in determining what will be the tools given or not given to a person during the course of this year. And that is why we have this idea that a person should do their best to do for others, should do their best to become what we call a klal person. What is a klal person? The klal is the community, the nation, the world. Because the more that we are doing besides just ourselves, so then the judgment is not just at me. The judgment is at that person and all those who will be affected by that person. And certainly, a way that we become a ben olam haba, a person destined for the world to come, is by doing for others, right? Im ein anili mili, right? We say in Pirkei Avot, if I'm not for myself, who will be? Right? Vimani la'atzmi ma'ani, or kishani la'atzmi. But when I am all about atzmi, just myself, ma'ani, what am I? And it concludes, Nachon Leah, im lo achshav, and if not now,
When?
then when? That's correct.
What if somebody says Kaddish for you for 11 months? Don't we, if someone says Kaddish for a deceased person for 11 months, does that lighten the sentence of the deceased?
Yes. Let me come back to that point also in a minute. So it's just an interesting idea. Hashem, we refer to God in the first brach of the Amidah as Gadol, Gibor, and Nora. Gadol, big, great. Gadol, Gibor, strong. Nora, awesome.
El Elyon.
Correct. Now, the Vilna Gaon explains Gadol, big, as the midah, the attribute of chesed, of kindness. And that's an interesting parallel. We use that in our English language also. We say that was very big of you. What are we saying? That was very generous, it was very kind, right? Meaning you went beyond yourself. And that
appreciation. Sometimes you say that instead of thank you.
Yeah, okay, but that expression, very big of you, right? So we understand that kindness is big. Why is kindness big? Because I am all that I am. 5 foot, I used to like to say 10, but really 9. 5'9", right? And 100 whatever pounds. I don't have to go into details, right? That's what I am.
Play more time.
Right? I should. That's what I am, right? But if I can reach out and touch and connect and help other people, then I've gone beyond myself. Now I'm not just myself. I've gotten big, meaning that my touch has extended beyond. And therefore, when the din comes about, that is a way become, right? If our job is to become God-like, God is the epitome of a giver. By giving, we are taking on those attributes. We are emulating Hashem, emulating God in that manner. And our din is not just on ourselves. Our din is on ourselves and all those that will be affected. And that is a way of extending ourselves. But we want to focus ourselves on being a ben olam haba as we're going into Rosh Hashana, so that all that will come our way will be that which will be helping us to A, maintain, and B, augment our ben olam haba-hood, our station of eternity. The point that His Honor brought up over here is an interesting idea. What does Kaddish do? Meaning, if I haven't accomplished it in my lifetime, what does someone saying Kaddish for me what is that going to accomplish? And our understanding of that is that the way that a person's station in the world to come can change, even though the only place to do things to bring about change is here in this world. The person's already in the next world. How does this one saying Kaddish help that person? So the idea is that any good that we have left in this world, be it family, children, people that we have had an effect on, institutions that we have supported, and good is happening in this world because of us, that is an engine that continues to produce even when we are no longer in this world and able to be producing. Now, if a person leaves behind, well, if it's a relative who's saying, if it's a child or a relative that's saying Kaddish, so that means that because of this person, there is more Kedusha taking place in this world. I mentioned this last time I spoke of the last Yizkor by Shavuos. The idea that every person brings Kedusha to the world, and now we are looking to replace that Kedusha of the person who's no longer here. But this person, and so if it's, and that's why I tell people, if someone else is saying Kaddish, right, for a relative, right, you should pay. Pay the person, pay the shul, pay tzedakah, because that way it becomes your zechut. It's not just that this person happens to be saying Kaddish, right? But it is that, the relatives were inspired by this person and therefore wanted to give tzedakah that the Kaddish should be said. So that is a way of linking that more directly to the person for whom is saying Kaddish. I've taken upon this year, I'm slowing down now, it's already well past 11 months. I took upon myself this year to say Kaddishes repeatedly for all those who died October 7th and afterwards, right? So what is my connection to them? How is my saying a Kaddish, right, going to be elevating them?
Part of the club.
Yeah, A part of the cloud, and B, I think we were all moved and stirred to try to do more, and that's why they moved me, they stirred me. I'm sorry. Yeah, 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 and we are all one goof, so to speak. We are all one entity. We are all connected with one another. Yeah. Yes, Steve.
Your explanation about the different perspectives on Rosh Hashana, whether it's Olam Haba, Olam Hazeh, would this explain why there's a Sfardim? I don't think say Natane Toke. Would it be related to this kind of difference of perspective on what that's about?
Nisana Tokef, which for the Ashkenazim is a focal point of our davening. It is something that was added on later on. It's not from the time of the Talmud. There's a story that transpired that it's attributed to, and that was in the Ashkenazic lands where that story took place, and that became part of the davening, and that never became part of the Sephardic liturgy, right? So I don't think it's because of a difference in understanding of what Rosh Hashanah is, right? That's based on the Gemara, that's based on the Rashi, that's based on the Tosafot, and that was they were neither Ashkenazic nor Sephardic at that point. They were different countries, right? But it was only much later where we had that divergence of customs, or that strong divergence of customs. So it would seem to me that was just a matter that never made it into their liturgy, whereas for Ashkenazim that did enter in, and that became, like we said, for many a real focal point of it, of the davening. Yes,
What is
Doctor.
the Jewish interpretation of those who do not succeed in getting to the Olam? What happens to their soul?
So,
Great question.
yeah. So our view of Gehenom, hell, right, is not, eternal damnation. That's not how we view it. We view it as a cleansing process that a person goes through, right, and thereby becomes cleansed, and then is able to enter the world to come. But at the same time, that will not create merit that's not there, but it will cleanse from
There's a movie.
that which needs to be cleansed. Let's put it like that.
There's a movie by Rabbi Mizrahi. It's on YouTube, and he's Orthodox Jew.
Yeah, I'm not a fan. I rather we not. I'm not a fan of his. Yeah.
But the movie was interesting.
Yeah. I rather. Yeah. I'm not a fan. I rather not. I rather not promote that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
Because I only watched the movie.
Okay. Very good. Hopefully, it'll be a movie that we get to watch, and nothing. No real life experiences of that.
So
Yeah.
next week is
Yeah.
part 2? Or
Yeah. We'll continue next week with more. Yeah.
What does intention sincerity have to do? Even if you give all the money and everything is sincere, I mean, it'll be for the best, but does that play a part, the sincerity of you wanting to do good for the community?
So certainly Hashem looks at not just the actions, but at the thought. I can give $1 million because I want everyone to say, "Wow, Ciner is such a generous person," right? Or I can give $10 if that's all that I can really afford, but I give it wholeheartedly to try to help people. In that case, the $10 in the heavenly scale is probably worth more than the million.
Well, what
Right?
about
When it comes to our budget, we wouldn't mind the million, but in the heavenly scale, right, the $10 might be worth more than the million.
I don't really want to part with this, but the community I know the community needs it.
So
I mean,
that's
so
you're
ambivalent.
that's an act. No, I would say that's an act of
Because
selflessness.
you really didn't want to. You'd rather keep your money.
Okay, yeah. Look, I think we'd all rather keep things for ourselves, but when we overcome that tendency or that struggle and say, let me give to the other and say keep it for myself. So the fact that a person had a struggle and overcame that, that's worth a tremendous amount.
Maybe
Right.
it wasn't even a struggle. I'm sad. This made I have to give this money, but the community needs it. You know it. So you just do it.
Okay, so you had that struggle
But
and you did it.
Later, you still feel like, well, I wish I could still have figured something else out.
Look, when we have a struggle and we overcome it and do a good thing, the right thing, that is what we're all about. That's what life is all about, right? The things that come easy, that comes easy. It's where we have our struggles and we overcome the struggles. That is what makes us into the people that we are, into the person that we are. It's the struggles. Amen.
Especially.
Amen. Yeah. Okay, I'm not taking confession now, Jenny, just for the record. Okay, my friends. Okay, we'll call it over here, my friends.
So next week is Zooming as well?
Sorry?
Next week is GoToMeeting as well? Because we'll
continue next week.
So
Yeah.
we'll have to do it by webinar next week.